All right. Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Telehealth Tuesday. This is your go to podcast for all things healthcare, modern healthcare, and wellness solutions. I'm Dr. Michael Bookhardt, your host, and today we have a very special episode lined up just for you. But before we get started and before I tell you all about this young lady, I want to let you know that Telehealth Tuesday can be viewed on multiple platforms. That's right, multiple platforms. Um, Most notably, YouTube, our YouTube channel, Dr. B TV. That's the word doctor spelled out. DOCTOR, the letter B is in boy, TV. And also our Instagram and Facebook pages, Michael Bookhardt, MD, MBA on Facebook, and also Heart of Music on Instagram. So please make sure to follow, like, share, and subscribe to help support this amazing program. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you about a young lady who I've just recently gotten to know. They call her and her Instagram handle becoming Doc Rocks. I was wondering, what is that, Doc Rocks? And that is Dr. Rocks, well, future Dr. Roxanne Larkins. You know, we got to speak that into existence. This absolutely, yeah. She's backstage. She hears this is a phenomenal young lady. She's an educator. She's a motivator, any other kind of hater that you want to say, except a hater. That's kind of corny, I guess. But she is an amazing young lady, originally from Buffalo, New York, and she's now residing in Atlanta. She is a professor there, and she's also, while she's pursuing her PhD herself, she has, I think, over 55,000 subscribers and followers on her Instagram channel. She is absolutely blowing up the airwaves. Man, I can't say enough great things about this young lady, but I'm going to let her tell you guys all about herself. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to welcome the one and the only, the incomparable, future doctor, Professor Roxanne Larkins. Give it to her. Give it to her.
Thank you.
All right. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Feeling a lot better. But
Awesome.
definitely, I want to thank you for having me on your show. This is a wonderful opportunity to network and obviously talk about a little bit more about what it is that I do and how it relates to your mission and your brand. So, this is going to be an exciting episode.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think you might be maybe adjusting the mic a little bit there. I know
Yeah.
it's cutting in and out a little bit. How's everybody doing? I want to say hello to all of our viewers, listeners, and fans, our audience over there in Instagram land. I see a few people are joining on that side. So we're still growing that audience on our Instagram live side. And thank you for all of you that are viewing, not only from Jackson, Mississippi, but some of her people and her viewers and subscribers from Atlanta, New York. Um, and also we on our LinkedIn page, Dr. BTV, and also on Facebook. So yeah, this is going to be an amazing episode. So Professor Roxanne, let's get right into it. I'd love for you to tell the audience all about yourself and where you're from, and give them let walk it down. Tell us where you've been, where you're going, and where you've been, where you're trying to go, and we know you're going to end up, and what you're doing for these amazing kids in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yes. So that's going to take more than an hour because I've been a lot of places and I've done a lot of things. But I'll start with my career. I teach public speaking. I'm the program director for the speech and communications department at Gwinnett Tech. I also am working on my PhD at Georgia State, where I also teach public speaking and human communications and things like that as well. And I really found a passion for it. I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio, but I moved to Buffalo when I was 4 and then to Atlanta when I was 31, where my career kind of took off when I really decided that I wanted to get my PhD, which is in public communication. And with that PhD, my focus is on colorism and how the media portrays African American women and how that can be instrumental or detrimental to the self esteem and self efficacy of African American women. with that, I learned that confidence is key. So my goal has become to help the youth and even adults really foster their confidence and lead with their self-esteem and their ability to know that they are worthy and they're capable and they're able to do great things. And I think a lot of that came from my own experiences as I was growing and I was developing and making sure that I had what I needed. So I kind of spend my life not only teaching public speaking, but also going to different universities and different spaces and doing public speaking to help people foster something that I had to gain along the way.
Okay, that's excellent. And can you now? I wonder now with it because I know it's just like a little bit choppy on that. Is
It is.
on your I don't know if you use are you using a cell phone or an iPad or a computer, laptop,
I'm using my phone. Is that
or
better?
phone? Yeah, a little bit better. Sometimes you so is it, I don't know if it's better with or without the AirPod. Um, try it again. It sometimes seemed like when you got a little closer, it seemed like it was a little bit stronger. I don't know.
Can you hear me? Is it good or is it not good?
Yeah, that's yeah. For
Is
some
it
reason,
better?
yeah, that's better.
Because I was still having the echo, so I had to go back in and turn some of those other settings off. So if it's better, we'll go.
Yeah,
If not, I can try it without
okay.
the AirPods.
Yeah, I think that's better. Can you guys let us know if anyone's having a problem hearing, but otherwise we're gonna move forward. I see we have Erlene Dempsey Gilbert here. We've got a new follower, a new supporter. So thank you so much for joining us here. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just joining us, this is Telehealth Tuesday live. We are here in the place. Each and every Tuesday at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. here Central Standard Time, depending on if you're using daylight savings or not. But we're here live to take your questions. We're here. We're going to talk all things education. We're going to talk about Professor Roxanne Larkins. We've talked about where she's been and some things she's doing in the community. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about these youth and education and what's going on and what's keeping folks from going to college and why they're having so many problems and all that. And so, again, this is a place that is a safe space for you to ask your questions, make your comments. We'd love to hear from you. Okay. So, one of our first questions was truly, what inspired you to become a public speaker, and also how can young people develop their own confidence to speak in front of others?
That's a good question. So I was never inspired to become a public speaker. I was kind of led in that direction through my path and led in that direction through my history and the things that I've been through. So when I was a youth, I was a runaway youth. I had some issues. My mother had committed suicide, and that had took me on a track that was not necessarily the best one. And as I came from that track and I started going back to school and focusing in on the things that mattered, people started asking me to come and tell my story and asking me to come and speak. And at first it wasn't something I was interested in at all, but once I got in front of the audience and was able to inspire others, and once I was able to feel like what I had to say was impactful and it helped other people in similar situations, I realized that that was something that I wanted to continue to do.
Hmm.
So I never was inspired to public speak, but I was more so kind of led there. I know that, your gifts will make room for you. So
Absolutely.
I never, sought it out, but it came right to me. And when I realized how important public speaking was, I decided to continue on down that path, meaning that I started studying public speaking. I started not only just speaking, but I went to school and my degree is in public communication, which we learned about public speaking and things of that nature. And in that learning process, I learned just how many youth don't have that skill and how so many employers are looking for that skill and how there's such a correlation between, for example, the students in my class who have confidence, they present themselves better, they talk better, they're more
Hmm.
prepared, and the ones who are not confident or don't have those type of skills, They are afraid, they're nervous, but sometimes that gets misguided as not interested or not willing, when the reality is nobody ever instilled that confidence within them to make them feel like they could do great
Hmm.
things or that they could utilize their voices. So I've taught at a couple of different colleges, and each of them fosters their own type of student. Meaning, I've taught at colleges that have the first generation students who come straight out of high school who still have a lot of family support. I've taught at colleges where the students are single moms or second generation or coming from a GI Bill from the military, who've already had a lot of life experience. And I've noticed that in certain dynamics within our community, especially, they didn't have the confidence. And it wasn't because they didn't want to do well, it was because nobody ever told them that they were good enough. It was because nobody ever instilled the principles of what you have to say matters. And when I started watching the students in my classrooms, because I have taught thousands of students, I've been doing this teaching for almost 6 years now, and I've taught
Wow.
thousands of students. And the ones that I
Wow.
notice
Amen.
suffer are not the ones that it's not because they don't care. It's because if you were told as a child to sit down and shut up your whole life, how do you get in front of any class and express yourself without feeling like your feelings don't matter? And in opposition, if you're a foreign student who has a strong accent and nobody's ever helped you with that, how do you get in front of a class? And then you
Absolutely.
have these other students who were told, they had the confidence, they were brought up in the right environments, and they're getting A's where these other students are getting C's. And really, it's because we're measuring them to the same standard. How do you measure everybody to the same standard where they didn't have the same starting point? And when that became really prevalent in my world, that's where my mission was birthed.
I excuse me. I find that is so fascinating. That's awesome because I think both you and I who are in higher education, just from a little bit different standpoint, but both of us that have gone to professional schools, and with you currently being enrolled in, for your PhD, we can definitely identify with that. I know that some of the prejudices that I've seen, so like you said, even starting from the smaller age of saying, well, nobody really poured into me. And even on a different level, it's kind of like if you haven't seen it yourself, if everything you see, and look, I don't want to get too far off base by saying, but one of the big things I have, and I have nothing against Tyler Perry and different things like that, because he does some great things. But if all we see in our community, and especially young African American men, the only time we see men portrayed on TV is in a darn dress or as a man that's in jail somewhere. You know what I mean? So it's hard to even fathom, even getting to the point where you're talking about where somebody's pouring into him, even before somebody gets to pour into him. These guys don't even have it in their head that I can become a professor, that I can become a successful man in the community, a father, a husband, entrepreneur, because they haven't even seen it. They only see the bad. They see African Americans portrayed in the worst ways. They're playing the same characters all the time. Again, nothing against people like Tyler. I'm sure he's a wonderful person, and then what you're saying is also you don't have somebody to pour into you. And so they've got so many roadblocks. And then you also talked about colorism. I would love for you to define for our audience real quick. My mom, Dr. Lily James, is on. We want to say hello to her. Yeah, she's an educator, taught for over 40 years. So I take my hat off to people like her and yourself. All right. Anyway, I no more soapbox. So talk to us. Let's go to what you said about colorism. Would you help us to define that for the audience who may not know what exactly colorism is?
Yes, but quickly, I do want to step back really quick,
Oh, please.
and just go back to what you were saying about Tyler Perry and things like that. See, we look at that, and that's harmful, definitely. But we have to even take it a step further, because that's the characterization of men. But the reality is, a lot of where the issue comes from is the media portrayals, where it comes to like the news and things like that, and the police brutality, and the women, the African American women being portrayed as Jezebels and things like
Absolutely.
that. Those
Absolutely.
things, those were in effect, because I think that some of that explains why the media can portray us this way in like Tyler Perry shows and things like that,
Hmm.
because long before that, we were already being objectified, like as far as like media violence, like men, African American men who commit crimes are like 3 times more likely to be put on the news, or already be told that they've done it before they've actually had a trial, right? And it's the same thing with African American women. They're usually put in positions where if they like got attacked or something, they're like called Jezebels and harlots and different language, different words to make it seem like it was their fault that happened.
Mm-hmm.
All of that is before the Tyler Perrys of the world. So I don't want to say that it didn't start at Tyler Perry. It started way before Tyler Perry, and had those
I
things
agree.
not happened, then maybe the Tyler Perry movement wouldn't be what it is. I think
Mm.
I think I
Okay.
think
Okay.
I think that is Tyler Perry's stuff is a reaction to what has already happened and what is already going on with the world. And so that's where I wanted to
Okay.
back up to.
Okay.
So then we'll go into colorism. So colorism is literally just, we have the whole racism thing. We have the whole perception of black and white and beauty standards. But colorism is when it happens within your own community.
Mm-hmm.
Colorism is when African American, mostly we're talking about women, honestly, but sometimes it's about men as well, where the darker your skin tone is, the less favorable you're viewed, and the worse you're treated. And that can be in marriages, that can be academic settings, that can be in jobs, because what has been shown through the data and the research is that if you are a woman of color who is brown skin, as in my skin tone or darker, you have less access to marriage. You have like a 1 in 63, it's like 1 in 63 chance of marrying an African American man.
Mm-hmm.
And then the educational system, where it comes to the degrees and things like that, you're less likely to get help and assistance with your education. And then as far as employment is concerned, you're obviously less likely to get hired in those situations. Or if you do get
Absolutely.
hired, you're more likely to be treated as if you're an angry black woman when you have a
Mm-hmm.
perception or opinion. And a lot of the colorism stigma comes from, well, if we have to hire these people, because this is where intersectionality comes in, where you have to be in a position to hire black people. You can't just not hire black people. And what the theory is, well, let's hire the ones that look closest to like us you know
Mm. Okay.
and the problem with that is that a lot of times in our community, the fairer skinned women don't seem to be able to relate to the issues of the darker skinned women. So it kind of looks as it becomes a division. Like, I don't understand why you're so angry all the time. Well, because my fight is not your fight. But then they'll rope everybody into the same fight, when the reality is that statistically, African American women who are of darker shade are raised to be workers and raised to learn how to live life without a man. It's just statistically shown. I have the
Mm.
research to back it up. And African American women who are fairer skinned are raised to be seen as pretty and raised to be put in positions to marry a man.
Mm.
And so, with that said, when African American men, and of course, this is just me generalizing at this
Right.
moment, but I can
Right.
go into the data. When African American men marry, okay, so this is the way it works. When it comes to marriages in the African American community, the woman's the woman's skin tone is the equivalent to the man's money. The more
Mm.
the more money he has, the more powerful he is. The fairer her skin, the more powerful she is. And that's why you see a lot of these African American athletes with white women, because her skin tone grants her access to the same rooms that his money does.
Can you say that again for the people in the back? You said that the skin tone. So basically, it is analogous to her skin tone. Say what you just said in a soundbite.
So for the equivalent of the man's money is the same as the woman's skin tone. So the skin tone is equivalent to how much money the man has, meaning that if he has like millions of dollars, he has access to the same rooms as the fair skinned woman, because beauty is the standard when it comes to women, and money is the standard when it comes to men. So if you are a man with money and you are a fair skinned woman, you have access to the same power, meaning that darker skinned women are counted out. They will never have the same skin tone, but lighter skinned women are pretty much seen as beautiful by these standards. So a black man, he can come out of anything because it's not, if he can get the money, he's good. But that also plays into the fact that a lot of African American women who are browner shades don't end up marrying a lot of men who have money and resources, and they end up in these struggle loves and things like that. So yeah, so that's colorism in a nutshell, and it's within
Wow.
your own community, but it's like the bigger bubble and the bigger dynamic of what's going on in the world. So yeah.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Hey, God, look, I want to get to this question. We've got Miss Lynn 601 who is joining us, one of our big supporters. And also we have Octavia Simmons. Thank you for joining us, my good friend as well. So good. We've missed you both of you on these last few episodes. We see you in the building. Look, let's get right to this question. Oh, Octavia, you said I need to rewind. Look, you're going to have to get the archive, my friend, because we got so much to cover. But basically, Roxanne just told you all we talked about colorism and saying that if you want to draw a comparison or analogy, it is the man's the higher the man's wall is directly proportional, I guess you could say, to the skin tone of a woman. She's saying that in colorism, this is all based on the fact that lighter skinned African American females, that is akin to or analogous to the more money a man has in his wallet or the more net worth he has, which is also, she said, why a lot of African American men are drawn to less melanated individuals, such as Caucasian. You'll have to look at that. Okay,
Okay.
let's go to Miss Lynn 601. What approach do you take to help students build their? So we're going to switch from colorism, okay, guys, real quick.
Okay.
What approach do you take to help students build their confidence in public speaking at the college level?
Oh, so yeah. So that is really like a holistic type of approach because different students have different approaches and different students have different advantages. So I start off in the beginning of any of my classes and I let them know at the jump, said that we are all family here. We are all here to support each other, to kind of warm them up. And the first thing I do is let them know my background and my story. Because a lot of times when they see me, they see success, right? Now we still working on it, but to them, this is what success looks like. So I go back and tell them a little bit about myself so they can see that, hey, I didn't always start at this level. I had these struggles, I've had these trials, I've had these tribulations. And that warms them up, that makes them feel like, oh, okay, this is somebody that we can relate to. And because she's like right here in front of us, that means it makes them feel like I'm more reachable. So then the goal for them is more reachable. And then
Okay.
what I do is really just go through the class and we have breakout sessions and I find out where everybody is. Once I find out where everybody is, we'll do like an introduction speech. So I know exactly where they are, how comfortable they are, how they're going to move. And then I start measuring them by where they are, not by the standard that's set up by Georgia. I start measuring them by, okay, this is where you were, and I'm very proud of you because you jumped here. And I don't measure them by, okay, well, the A is up here. No, for you, the A is right here. And I like to make sure that everybody knows that in my classroom, my goal is not to train my students to be the best world renowned public speakers. There are a lot of academies that do that. My goal is to make sure that you can talk to a judge if you get a speeding ticket. My goal is to make sure that you can interview in front of a candidate list where you can, or in front of a committee when you're a candidate and get a job. My goal is to make sure that when you go into any situation that you feel like you're confident and you can handle it. And the best way that I know how to do that is to let them know that they have my support and then that in the classroom structure, I'm not measuring them by the standards of Georgia. I'm measuring them by what I see. I want to see their effort. Now, sometimes most of my students actually they actually stay with me. Like, they'll continue to contact me. They'll find me on LinkedIn. They'll ask me interview advice. They'll reach out to me to ask me for references and things like that because it's a family centered business. Building confidence and self esteem is a family centered thing. It's not something that you can just measure in a classroom. It's not something that you can just say, okay, this is the standard. You got to get this complete A, B, and C, and D and hope that everybody falls in line. Because I've had tons of international students. I've had people cry in the middle of my classroom, and guess what? It turned
Mm.
into a therapy session. you know?
Wow.
And
Wow.
as long as, and when you're the program director, you can do things like that, right? Because I create the curriculum. I can do what I need to do. But I always tell my students that you have to get to a point where, even though, see, okay, sorry. So here's what people fear in public
Take
speaking.
take your time. Take your
Let's just,
time. Take your
okay,
time.
that's a lot.
Take
Let's get
time.
it all out. Here's what they fear. They don't fear talking in front of people. They fear being judged, they fear failure, and they fear being rejected. That's called glossophobia. So what that means
Mm,
is, I'm not afraid to talk in front of you. I'm afraid that you're going to judge me. Well, why do I feel like you're going to judge me, or why do I feel like I'm going to be rejected? Because somewhere in your past, somebody has judged you and it made you feel uncomfortable, and somebody has rejected you, or you felt like you were going to fail, and then in those feelings of failure you decided you weren't going to try again. But why do you feel that way? See, in my class we tackle the why. I'm not just working on, oh, speak louder, memorize, focus. No, we got to focus on the why. Why do you feel like that? What has happened? What has transpired in your life that makes you feel like everybody in this room hates you, and it's going to judge you, you know so we spend a lot of time in my classroom tackling the why, because it's not about public speaking. It's about being confident and surviving in this world. See, the problem is, there's a study that says 85% of employers, one of their top skills that they are looking for are public speaking skills. It's like top five for 85% of employers. Only 2% of our youth possess the skill. So that's when social media and TikTok and all of those things come into play. So what's going to happen when all of these Gen X people retire, the millennials take over, and now we need to hire, the Gen Z, and they can't communicate? Now we're lost. So my goal is to instill the confidence, in the youth. And honestly, a lot of my students, some of them are older than I am, not even just in the youth, but in anybody in any walks of life. I have my own coaching program too. I have my own business lead inspired teach academy, where I do public speaking for people who are not in college, because the goal is to make you a healthy, well-rounded individual. Because the significance of communicating is not just within the job market or within public speaking, but it's how we talk to each other. It's how we talk to our
mhm.
friends. It's how we talk to our colleagues. It's how we talk to our mates. It's how we talk to our children, right? So if we can
Absolutely.
unwrap why you fear the judgment, the failure, and the rejection, we can really uncover some of that trauma from your childhood and your past, and we can put you on track to be able to be a healthy adult for all the people around you. All the people around
Absolutely.
you. Yeah.
Look,
So, yeah, that's
look,
how
man.
my class works.
Look,
you
that's
know.
listen, Miss Lynn. I listen. I hope I know that she answered your question. But look, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but usually we wait till the end of the show to let people, basically either promote themselves and sell their wares and everything. But the Lead Inspire Teach Academy, I don't know about anybody else watching, but I feel like I'm ready to sign up right now. Do you all feel the passion in her voice? We don't have that. And like you said, when Al Sharpton and Ben Crump and all these guys are gone, God help us. Who is going to carry forth that torch? And you talked about knowing how to communicate in public speaking. When you talked about how to talk with your mate, how to talk with each other, how to talk with a judge and in court. I want to even say, let's take it to something right now where possibly, I don't know if public speaking would have necessarily helped this guy, but you all have all seen it. I talked about attorney Ben Crump, who's representing the young man, that was told to exit his car. He didn't communicate properly. He just kind of shut the door. And so, I mean, there was a huge communication thing. There was, I'm sure, some type of racism going on. Definitely, we don't want to act like that doesn't exist. And the police broke his window. He got punched in the face. They broke his teeth, and he had a concussion and all that. And I'm wondering, even in these instances where minority, especially young men, young black men, are being assaulted and being killed, also by each other. We'll be honest here, but especially, and also police brutality. Sometimes I think this can be mitigated, or there can be some damage control if we are able to learn those techniques at an early age, and able to de-escalate and basically use your words.
Yeah.
What's
And
what
I
say
think
you?
Well, so now we're gonna go into my other views on things. Well, in that situation, I think that the best course of action, well, let's be clear, the same rules don't apply for him that apply for other people. And I think that what
Mm,
happens is a lot of times minorities try to execute the rules of the land and use like, this is my right, but you don't have the same rights. The best thing that I
right.
think that young man could have done was to follow what the police wanted him to do and just did exactly, and then followed up in court, then sued they behind. That's where they should
Hmm.
have used their skills,
Yeah,
opposed to, because obviously we know that our rights don't work when we have police who don't care.
absolutely.
I mean, let's think about Sandra Bland. She ain't done nothing, you know what I mean? And she just,
Nothing.
right, her rights didn't mean a thing. So I think that when we actually assert ourselves in these spaces where we do have the right to do, we
Hmm.
also have to recognize that they do not care about the law when it comes to us, and they'll say whatever it is that they need to say. And I almost want to caution, as somebody who has children, and I have three boys,
Okay.
okay, and I want to caution young men especially to just go with it and then follow up in court, because to them that's agitation, and a lot of times these police don't even know the rules. They don't know the
All
laws.
right.
They're just going to do whatever it is that they want to do. But to your point, yes, I think public speaking skills, communication skills,
Hmm.
are the type of skills that can save somebody's life if they execute it properly and in the right situations and circumstances. Now, will I say that public speaking skills will help somebody get out of a situation where somebody it just blatantly doesn't care, like those cops didn't? No.
Hmm. Yeah. No.
Public speaking wouldn't have done anything for that young man, and he tried to enforce something and show something, and they did not care. That's what was shown. But I'm not
Hmm.
gonna. My kids need to just do what the cop says,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
we'll follow up in court, because they got a very powerful bond, and we're gonna handle that in court. But you need to make it home to me safe, and then once you get home, we'll deal with those police in court. So yeah, I
Absolutely.
think public speaking skills they're instrumental, but you got to make it to court alive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and like you said, we could definitely go on that topic all evening, and we always end up getting kind of close to time. And I tell every guest this they come on, and right at that last 10 minutes, we'll get like a barrage of questions. So, quick pause for the cause. Again, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching Telehealth Tuesday, and again, this is your go-to podcast for insights on modern healthcare and wellness solutions. We are joined by Professor Roxanne Larkins of the Inspire Teach Academy, and also she is joining us from Atlanta, Georgia. We are talking about real things, real topics that affect our people, that affect everybody's people, because everybody's got someone that they love. Everybody came from a mama, right? Everybody has somebody that they love, even if you don't love your family, you love your church member. If you don't have a church or believe in God, I hope you love yourself. And if you don't love yourself, well, God help you. Somebody loves you. So we have got to we've got to do better. These kids these days, Roxanne, they're I don't know. I do know. I'm sure that you see this even more than me. But you'll see them. They come into the clinic with their grandma, with their parents, and they can't look you eye to eye. And like you said, you have three boys at home. I say, anytime I see a young man, he gives me a limp handshake. And you correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like all of this is about presenting yourself public, not just public speaking, but just communication, because there's nonverbal communication. And so with a young man, I say, hey, embrace, grab my hand, give me a grip, look me in the eye, say, hey, my name, let's say if his name is Jonathan, hey, how you doing, sir? My name is Jonathan.
Mhm.
Direct eye contact. These kids just don't have it. And I'm just wondering, Roxanne, where on earth did we go wrong?
I ain't go wrong. My kids got it.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. You say you didn't go wrong. Say it one more time. Say it again now.
I said my kids got it. I mean, just
Uh,
throwing that in there. But
absolutely.
well, first of all, social media is raising our kids now. TikTok is raising our kids. Tablets are raising our kids. those things are raising our kids, but I won't say that I can really say that it's our fault. And I say that lightly because I know this is we need to all take accountability for where we are. But the reality is that money doesn't expand as much as it did. We're working 2 and 3 jobs. You know what I mean? The school days, they have all of these rigid structures of what we can teach and can't teach. And, all of these things come into play when it comes to what we have to do with our kids. For me, I work, so my kids have to go to after school, and sometimes on the weekends they get to utilize their tablets. But I am fortunate to be able to make my own schedule, meaning that if I decide that I'm going to work Tuesdays and Wednesdays, that's it for me, right? Everybody is not fortunate in that way, and the laws don't permit a lot of family time, vacation time, leave time, so people can actually raise their own children. And now they have the requirement that children have to be in school. And let's be clear, they're not teaching them anything in school. For the most part, they're just regurgitating old information that's outdated, and anything that's actually a life skill is not even utilized in the school system. So we're going wrong because we have not implemented a way to come together as a community and raise our own kids, and we're still being dictated to how we're supposed to raise our kids by the government. So the reality is, if we're stuck in this web, it's not that we're going wrong, it's just that the system is flawed and it doesn't work, and we're stuck in this loop. So
Mhm.
I think a lot of most parents are trying. They really are. And we don't really want social media and TikTok and things like that. But sometimes, like, it's hard to put a handle on it when you're working 8, 9, 10 hours. Then you get home and you got to cook. Then you're tired and you want to go to sleep. Then you're deprived of all of these type of things, nutrients. The food is not nutritious no more. Like, it's so many things going on in our world that we just are left in an unfortunate situation where our kids
Mhm.
are just not getting the basics because we're too busy trying to raise them. We try and make sure we keep this roof over their heads,
That's
and
right.
that takes 2, 3 jobs sometimes, and we just don't have the family support and the dynamics. And I know that we have a lot of households that are single parent households and things like that. And even we can go into that any day, because even that was by design. Even that, you can't really blame anybody per se for that, because this all started, right after slavery, during slavery, where everybody's being separated, so it's kind of like regurgitated through the Jim Crow philosophy that we are actually right where they want us to be, and we weren't
Hmm.
we are not, we don't have enough cards in our hands to change it. Now, some of us individually can change certain things. Like I said,
That's
mine
right.
are good. You know what I mean? Mine are going to be good, but that's just because of the privileges and advantage that I've been able to incorporate into their lives. But other people, they really have to utilize the village that they have, meaning
Right.
that some of these students, when I get them in college, it's their first encounter with somebody who's going to look them straight in the eyes and say, sit up and put those headphones down, right?
Hmm.
And I have to make
Absolutely.
sure that I'm really delicate with those students in that moment, because they need me to be able to do that. And when I'm doing that, they don't lose it. They might not know it for, they might not have it at the forefront all the time, but they're never going to lose it. So I think that at this point, we can't deal with where did we go wrong, but we have to deal with how can we make this right. And sometimes that's just individual people like myself teaching at the college level and saying, hey, when you're in my classroom, we do it like this. And we just do the best that we can for as long as we can.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I love that, mentality. Let's look for more solutions. Let's go to another question that we have. Um, this question was talking about motivation to succeed. Yeah, and as you know, and as all of our listeners know, and our viewers, many of our kids today, they feel unmotivated. What are some of the biggest issues affecting today's youth? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, actually, because we're getting a couple of questions coming in my phone, my cell phone, and different places. But let's go back to the motivation question that someone prepared, that someone asked. What strategies do you suggest to help kids see the value in education? What strategies do you suggest?
Well, to be honest, you got for students to see the value in something, you have to show them what they're going to get out of something. And the problem is there's really nothing that says they're going to get much out of it right now, considering the fact that a lot of students are in these settings. Sorry, my son is walking in.
Okay.
Hi. Okay. Okay, back up. You got to go potty? Okay. Hold on. Go to that potty in there. Thank you.
It's live,
Um,
folks. We are
yeah,
live. We're
and kids
live.
are everywhere. Yeah, so they don't see the value in anything because the reality is, if you saw your mom going to work two, three jobs, barely making minimum wage, you don't live in anything nice, you kind of live in an impoverished setting, and now she's telling you to go do exactly what I did to get me exactly where I am. That's why a lot of these youth are like into like all these rappers and football careers because they see something coming out of it. What we have to do is put the fun and enjoyment back in education, and we have to put the students in a position to feel like, hey, life is worth living because a lot of parents are depressed right now, right? They're not excited about
Mhm.
life. You know, me and my kids, we go on trips. You know, we live a good life. We drive, we do things, we go places, we see things. And I think that the real motivation for these youth outside of TikTok, because everybody's going to be a TikTok famous person now, right? The
Everybody.
real motivation is to put the value back in what can come of it. They won't be motivated in it until they feel like if I do this, this will happen. We're not doing a very
Okay.
good job of showing them that anything worth having is what's coming out of it. So they
Mm.
don't want to do it. They why would I
So,
do it? I don't want to be like my single mother who works as a CNA with a master's degree.
mm. So look, those are absolutely great points. Let me, Driscoll. I see you, brother, Doctor Driscoll Duvall, my frat brother there, representing Sigma Sigma Lambda Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, 1906. All right, I see you, brother, our chapter president. Thank you for joining. But I wanted to go to something because you talked about you're talking about the youth, you're talking about these teachers and how you motivate and you yourself, you know, you're able to pour into these three boys, and I thank God for that and people like you that have the resources. But my question to you, so we're gonna you know we're gonna steer away just against from our prepared question. My question to you, since you said that, is these teachers, especially in this public school system, and especially in JPS, Jackson Public Schools, where teachers are getting paid $35,000, $40,000 to start off. You know, we know that in this climate where eggs cost $10 and $12. So my question is, if teachers, because we don't know what you make, but we're sure in Atlanta, Georgia, I assume that you're being compensated well, and you do have other streams of income. But for the teacher that's literally coming out of college, they're going to work in this inner city system, public school system, where they are not getting paid what they're worth. How do these um, how do we either incentivize these teachers to do the things you're saying and pour in, or how do we help motivate the teachers? How do we increase teacher our education force? Because I just see the reality of it is that everything you're saying, I wholeheartedly believe, and maybe that those things are happening in your community, but in JPS, Jackson Public School, it's simply not, and there's so many reasons. These folks are not getting paid. Folks are not going into education. They can't recruit teachers. So how do we help get the people in that want to do the things that you suggest?
Okay, so my experience is not really with the K through 12 setting. I only work in higher education, so I
Okay.
don't really know. I teach college.
Okay.
So as far as the teaching, I wouldn't know what to tell you to do because I couldn't go into that to that system. Like
Okay.
I'd have the whole building on strike until we got raises, okay? So I don't know what to tell them to do. I honestly think that more teaching needs to come from home and not so focused in on the teacher. I think
Okay.
that the teacher obviously needs a raise because that really does suck. Nobody can live like that anymore,
Yeah.
especially with degrees. Like you can go work at McDonald's for that. But the reality is
You
that
really can. You really
you
can.
can, you
You
really
really can.
can. And so I don't know. I would tell the teachers to strike. I don't know what to tell the teachers to do. All I know is that I make sure that whatever is lacking in my school system, my kids get at home. And that's all I can say. And I want to point at Miss Octavia, and she was talking about expectancy.
Yeah. We'll put
Yes,
that up
that's
there.
absolutely, that's another thing. When you expect your kids to do well, they do perform better. So that's definitely a good point there as well.
And Octavia is a good friend of mine, and Octavia literally has 10 children, ladies and gentlemen, like 10 children. Now I know she's gonna get me. She's gonna get me. She doesn't have 10 children, but she definitely does a great job with them. Fantastic mom. taking care of our children. We thank you for being on. And she's saying, for those of you that can't see this or wherever you're tuning in from, the comment was also expectancy. If you expect your children to succeed, they will rise to and above those expectations.
Yes.
Um,
And also give you also and after you expect them to succeed and you have to model to them what success looks like. Because some people just send their kids to school to get a lunch and get out of their space. People have
Absolutely.
stopped raising their kids nowadays. So, and it also gets a little tricky because you don't have any influence over the people at the school who have influence over your kids. You know what I mean? So it's like this real tightrope. All I can say is love on your babies and make sure that you are ingraining who you want them to be in them so that when they go out into the world, they never lose that.
Absolutely. We've got one about Driscoll says, plus the extracurricular after school. Absolutely, bro.
Yes, for
Absolutely.
sure. Yep.
So our next topic, talking about college or not. There are some young people, as we all know, who just simply don't see college as part of their future. So how can we support and guide them towards finding the right path, whether it's college or otherwise?
I mean, I don't think that college is necessarily for everybody, but I think that a good trade school guide them into maybe a 2-year school, get them a trade, get them some way of making a decent living for themselves, even if they don't want to go to college. I mean, a lot of college courses and a lot of college degrees are within the realm of like general studies, general ed, unless it's like an engineering thing, whereas it's really a social thing. And I really do believe in college because it's your first opportunity to be away from home in a guided setting where you can meet people and network. I think
Mhm.
that that's really valuable and really important. But the way that, financial aid is set up now, the things that Trump is doing, people might not be able to afford college and they might not want to go into debt to do so. But if they go into a good trade, get into a certificate program, they can go right into the workforce and start
Right.
working. And then they can also join clubs and different activities amongst their community so that they can get that social networking. But honestly, I think that we're getting to a generation who's steering more and more from college because once again, what's the value in it? You got 100K in student loans and right now the job market sucks. You know what I mean? But a good
Absolutely.
trade, like for example, my son, he's in high school, but he's in high school and he's already in the welding program. You know what I mean? So we're already taking those steps. My goal is for him to go to college, but I also, when he gets out of high school, I want him to be prepared and ready to do something. So, yeah, I think there are a lot of options, and unfortunately, a lot of members of our community don't have the assets to like just let our kids go on a year away and just
Oh,
find
no.
themselves. You
No
know, which
way.
which would be
No
beautiful,
way.
right? Go find yourself for a year. But we don't have that luxury in a lot of situations, but we can guide them into finding things that they at least like, so then that way while they're finding what they like at least and can do, whether it be plumbing or HVAC, they can actually
That's
start
right.
focusing and saving towards the things that they love.
Absolutely. We're going to get to just a few more topics. If you can stay with us for about 10 minutes, Roxanne, do you have about 10 minutes that you can stay with us over after 8 o'clock?
I got just about 10 minutes because I have
About
people downstairs.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
All right. We're gonna wrap this up quick. A couple more questions. Listen. So if you guys have questions or comments, go ahead and get those in now, because you heard it first. She's got to go. Okay, and so we wanna wrap this up soon. Yakisha Baker says, "I like the way you think." Absolutely. All right. So let's talk about role models. This is something that's near and dear to my heart because I shout out these two gentlemen every time this topic comes up. Dr. Elvis Epps, brother, Mr. Darren Green, all the way from Orlando, Florida. Were, man, huge in my life, teaching me so many things. And so I thank God for them because sometimes, if the father's not in the home, these gentlemen, so if you have a strong presence, either your uncles or men in the church and all that, you can still get a lot of the things you need. Not necessarily replacing a father in the home, but nevertheless, I did have that. So big shout out to them. So in terms of role model, how important would you say it is for young people to have mentors and role models and how can they find these people?
Well, first of all, it's extremely important. And that's not just for young people, that's for everyone at all ages and all stages. There is somebody that you need to be connected to who is already advanced in what you want to do, so that way they can help guide you to it. Because sometimes all it takes is a conversation in the right direction and it'll get you there. And I've had several role models and mentors from different ages and stages and spaces in my life. And I think for our youth, there literally is, like, for example, in Buffalo, there's a My Brother's Keepers program, and they have all of these little organizations amongst different cities that students can get into. I know that some of the sororities and fraternities definitely have like youth groups and things like that. And what
Hmm.
happens in those settings is you just kind of find your people. Everybody's not going to be your person. Everybody's not going to be somebody that you latch on to. But when you find somebody who takes an interest in what it is that you're interested in, then that becomes like your role model. I think parents, especially in single parent households, because there are a lot of single fathers out there too, raising children on their own. They need to find the Big Brother, Big Sisters program, and they need to find just different things and opportunities in the community. I know of several just in my area in Atlanta. Just have somebody to talk to and guide you through things. So I'm sure
Absolutely.
all states and cities have a big brother, big sister,
Hmm.
you know. So yeah, definitely. And I think that a lot of times, even now, one benefit of social media is that there's a lot of groups, and different people who are talking about the things that people are interested in, depending on what that is, right? So yeah, I think there's a YouTube channel of a guy. I don't remember this, but he's like a dad who like created the channel for kids who don't have dads to teach them things that a dad would teach them, like how to tie a tie and things like that. So I just think there are a lot of people out there, and we have to put more energy into putting those voices and utilizing those spaces together.
Yeah, absolutely. And and also one other question, in terms of, I just want to touch on briefly technology and distraction. Since we talked about that, you alluded to it earlier about TikTok and all this different platforms, with social media and technology pulling these kids in so many different directions. How can we honestly help them to stay focused on their goals in this current society, this day and age, with all those distractions?
Well, first of all, everything is bad if it's not in moderation. I mean, healthy food is bad and not if it's not in moderation. Exercise is bad if it's not in moderation. So, same thing with social media. So I think that what one we need to do is pull back some of that social media time. My kids are only allowed to use their tablets on the weekends during the school year. So
Okay.
pull back some of that. But the reality is that in order to help them, you also have to add things that help with their personal growth and development. For example, if your child is of age to be working, start working on them with budget sheets. Teach them what that means to budget. Have a weekly meeting with your children. Check ins on their mental space and their mental thoughts. What's going on with you? Everything doesn't have to happen when you're upset with them or when they did something wrong or when they didn't shake the chicken out of the freezer. Sometimes you need to just schedule, hey, as a family, this is what we do weekly. On Sundays at 6 p.m., we come together for an hour and we talk about our plans, we talk about our goals, and they set goals. Just like when you're at work, we have evaluations every year, right? Or every
Hmm.
quarterly, right?
That's right.
We
That's
need to
right.
start evaluating ourselves and our children and our spouses, as if this is a business and we are trying to make sure that it grows healthy. The problem is there's no order at home. Kids go to school, they come home, they watch TikTok, they eat food, they go to sleep, they get back up, they might go to basketball practice, whatever, but there's really no check ins. How are you? What's going on in your world? On Sundays, we sit and watch a movie together as a family. The biggest problem is we took family out of the household. Even in a household that has six people, where's the family structure? Nobody eats dinner together anymore. Nobody cooks
That's right.
together anymore. Nobody we don't live as a unit. We just live as individuals who just
Mm.
encompass the same household. And then the mom or dad is just yelling, didn't I tell you to go to bed at this
Yeah.
time? Why are your shoes still here? But nobody does check ins. Me and my son, my oldest, who's 15, we do check ins, you know? And I think that those have been very instrumental to his development. Now, I won't say that I've raised the perfect child because that boy, woo, okay, all right,
Yeah,
but he knows that he can come to me, and he knows that I'm going to be there regardless of what it is that he says, and whether I like it or not, he knows that it's going to be okay when we have our conversations, because we do check-ins, we do budgeting. Now, he's terrible with money, but somewhere in his future, you raise a child up in the way you want them to go, and they'll never stray from it.
that's
And
right.
he, in his older years, he'll remember that, and then hopefully he'll utilize that and instill that into the next generation. So I think that that's the big thing surrounding how we balance that, is get back into your kids' lives. Like, if everything that they do is because they're doing it with somebody else, school, work, TikTok, basketball, you're not really a part of their world. You're just managing what they do. You're not
Mhm.
a part of their world, and that's a huge problem right now. But again, that goes back to what I said earlier about having to work three jobs just to
Yeah,
pay the rent. So
I was literally going to touch on that. I was going to say
yeah,
again, I've been with you, literally
yeah,
100% things you've said, but it's like you, and I'm so happy that you're able to be, afforded that type of lifestyle where you can not only take the kids on
and let
trips,
let
but
me
do
be
those
clear.
things.
Let me be clear. That took
Go
a
ahead.
lot. Okay. So when I moved to Atlanta, I was homeless for a year. Okay. So let's be clear on
Really,
that. I
really,
didn't I didn't have it. I had two children under the age of two, running from a bad relationship, trying to get out of that relationship. Sold my house, put a for sale sign on my house, didn't have a job. Then COVID hit, so I couldn't even find a job. Okay. I re-enrolled in
okay.
school. I was making $1,500 a month, and I was staying at hotels and friends' houses
In
and
Atlanta,
Airbnb in
Atlanta.
Atlanta for a whole year. Okay, so let's
Wait,
be clear. All right, and
wait a
then
minute.
after I started working, and working on my PhD, then I was afforded an opportunity to teach, and then after that opportunity, I was asked to get another job teaching, and then so this was a journey. So when I say that I'm able to do those things, just like I tell my students, that's today. That's with
Mhm.
hard work, that's with effort, that's with a lot of struggles. How my 15-year-old was raised is not how my younger kids are raised, because he had to go through a lot more than what they have to go through. So yeah, no. I'm speaking from
Okay.
experience. I've been on both ends
You've
of the
been on both.
spectrum.
Okay.
All I'm saying is that we can all get there together.
Okay. Well, yeah, and that's what yeah, I'm so glad you clarified that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your
Yeah.
transparency, because I was just
Yeah.
wondering, like, if you do have a single parent home, and usually that'll be single mom, and they're working two jobs and things like that, they're so tired. I can imagine when they come home,
Oh.
and if you have more than one child, I mean,
Mhm.
you don't feel up to cooking, you don't have the
Mhm.
strength to pour
Yeah.
into them to do the check-ins that you're saying. So that's why
Yeah.
I'm saying it's hard, and I guess that's why so many people lean upon the teachers and stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, no, no. All of this is coming from an experienced
yeah,
place. I've been there, I've done it. I've been postpartum depressed raising children. I've been there. What I'm
okay,
saying is that you have to desire for your kids to succeed, and be so hell bent on making sure that their lives don't become what yours was or is, that you put that extra step in, even when you're tired, even when you don't have the energy, even when
okay,
you don't want to, even when it hurts. They can't be Your kids can't be what you drop the ball on. They just can't.
absolutely. We're gonna leave it there, good people. So that I know you got some things going on and some guests, so we're gonna leave it there. So in these last 3 minutes we have, I would love. All right, there's Aunt Jackie. I told you. See, I told you right at the last one. They're gonna roll in. Aunt Jackie, good to see you. Aunt Jackie, you're gonna have to go to Dr. B TV and look at the archives, okay? Because every episode, all 52 episodes will be there. So again, folks, Telehealth Tuesday, but I'm going to give it to Professor Roxanne Larkins to have the last word on this. I would love for you to tell everybody, just once again, for the people that have joined, who you are, where you are, what you're doing, and where they can find you, and what services you're offering. Just let them know everything. Take it away.
Oh, okay. So, well, my name is Roxanne, but I'm a professor at Gwinnett Technical. Gwinnett Technical College. I'm the program director for the Speech and Communications Department, and my whole mission is surrounded around public speaking and communication and helping individuals build their confidence, especially when it comes to job interviews or furthering themselves in life. So I have my own academy. It's called Lead, Inspire, Teach Academy. That's LIT Academy, where I assist people who are not in college, because in college it's pretty simple to help somebody with public speaking. But I have individuals who come to me outside of college to prepare for business pitches and to help them boost their confidence so that they can really feel like they can go to the next level. And I can be found at leadinspireteachacademy.com. That's where you can find me. I'm also becoming Dr. Rox on all my social platforms. That's Doctor spelled out. And that's exactly what it is that I do.
That's awesome. Short and sweet. Well, we want to thank Roxanne Larkins. Thank you so much for being on with us.
Of course.
And look, I want you all to know that she has been under the weather, and so she didn't cancel on us, and that means the world, because I know you're not feeling the 100%. You're not feeling the best, and so our thoughts and prayers go out to you. And hopefully,
thank you.
No problem. Hopefully, those boys will let you get some rest there.
I do have a daughter too. I only mentioned my boys for the preschool, but I have four. I have a 15-year-old boy, a 7-year-old boy, a 5-year-old girl, and a 2-year-old boy. So I have four. Those are my babies.
Oh wow, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
almost got a starting 5 right there.
And I need a couple more. Love my babies.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you listen, Octavia, if you're still Octavia Simmons, you're still on there. So she's almost caught up with you, okay? she gonna get me. She's gonna get me.
Well, thank you so much again. This was wonderful.
Absolutely.
We'll touch base soon.
Absolutely. And hey, look, stay on with me real quick, Roxanne. Okay, I'm gonna do my closing. Stay on with me for like 2 minutes after we go off live. Okay, just real quick.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Telehealth Tuesday, another amazing and phenomenal broadcast, episode 52, featuring Professor Roxanne Larkins. You can catch it on the archive, Dr. B TV. Next week, we're going to have another amazing speaker. I'm not going to give it away now, okay, because we don't want to do like a spoiler alert, okay? So you'll see that next week. So I'm going to leave it there. This is the place where we are all about mind, body, soul, helping. No question is ridiculous. No question is stupid. All questions and comments are welcome. So next time, bring a friend with you, okay? Don't just keep this for yourself. Bring a friend with you. And if there's somebody you want to hear, let us know, DM us or email us. And if you want to see Roxanne again, let us know that as well. Because she doesn't know it yet, but she'll be back on, okay? All right. So remember, as always, my motto, my mantra, true wealth begins with good health. See you next time.